Welcome ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a very specific sort of situation inside of the world of The Walking Dead. Yes, we're back on the Walking Dead train in celebration for the new season being released currently. Season 11, the final season of what is so far one of the most historically significant TV series in quite a long time. I'm sure you've already read the title. Today we're going to be talking about what if Glenn never saved Rick, also known as Rick not being the main character for the main portion of the show. Now this question is going to be split up into two different parts in two different videos. In part 1, obviously we're going to be talking about Rick's experiences and how he fends for himself on his own away from the group for the main portion of his story. On part 2, which is going to be next video, we're going to be talking about the group's experiences and how they survive without Rick being their leader. Now of course, before I begin, I've got a few disclaimers. Obviously there's going to be spoilers in these videos up until season 10. So if you haven't watched that already, be sure to go and watch up until the end of season 10, just so you don't receive any spoilers. So don't blame me if you hear some spoilers that you are not happy with, but also do not take these videos too seriously. They're just for fun. Don't get too worked up about them if you don't agree with my views on what might happen in this sort of situation. Obviously these situations have loads of different viewpoints. Some people can disagree or agree with what sort of thing they would imagine to happen in these scenarios. It's just a bit of fun, just what I think might happen if Rick wasn't saved by Glenn. But other than that, I think we should get right into today's video. We should get right into part 1. So, just starting off from the beginning, in the first season, Rick was absolutely determined to find his family after being in a coma for a few months now.
Wake up!
Where am I?
He already knew that they were still alive during the apocalypse, as we see him going back to his house and finding his portraits and family photos all missing.
What?
Of course, no casual robber or burglar would go in and take family photos, meaning that his family are still alive and out there. Rick found Morgan and his son Dwayne in the first episode of season 1, and Morgan told Rick about the military zone that is located in Atlanta, which is near where he currently is living. He also told Rick about the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control, and those two main places are where he would think that his family, Laurie and Carl, would be held up at. So his main focus was heading over to Atlanta to see if his family are located there. So we go back to the main story anyway from the beginning, where he goes to Atlanta on his horse. He gets trapped in a tank. However, this time Glenn is not there to save him. And so what does he do, you might be asking yourself? Well, he's already surrounded in loads of zombies, a horde of walkers, and so they aren't able to see him in the tank. So he just stays in the tank for however long he needs to, waiting for the zombies to disperse, for him to be able to get out of there safely. Now of course, him dropping the bag of guns outside the tank like he does regularly, when it's safe to escape out of the tank, he gets out the tank, he goes, grabs the guns he drops, and then legs it out of there. Now Rick is highly unlikely to actually find the camp that Laurie and Shane and all of the main survivor group are located at for the time being, as Shane, as we see him and his attitudes to survival, he is clearly not a big fan of letting loads of people know where they are. This is seen by when he tells people off for lighting high fires. He wants to keep the fires in the camp quite low, so people, or maybe even walkers, won't be able to see the smoke or the flames produced by the campfire. And so Rick would, instead of finding their camp, he would instead go straight towards the CDC in search for his family. Obviously, him knowing that the military zones have already been overrun, as we see massive hordes of walkers already in the first episode. So he makes his way over to the CDC, where he meets with Dr. Edwin Jenner, who we actually see normally in Season 1 anyway. However, he meets him before his research is destroyed. However, this time Rick actually meets up with him before his research is destroyed from him being a complete lunatic in the main storyline. But even that, he refuses to help Dr. Edwin Jenner with his research anyway, as he is convinced that he is able to find his family, and that is his primary goal. However, there are 3 separate paths that this could kind of go down. I'm going to be concentrating on the longer one of these paths, but Rick could either, save the world, obviously, from helping Edward Jenner with his research, finding a cure for the zombie disease, virus, whatever it is, and curing the world, basically. If Rick stayed and helped Jenner. Obviously, that is not a route we're going to be taking now, as that will be quite a unrealistic view, to be honest, but also pointless for me to make this whole video. Another path he could do is he could die with Jenner, as he's unable to convince Jenner to open the doors after they've been closed for him to be able to leave. And so the explosion that Jenner ends up setting off in the main storyline, killing a few people and destroying the whole CDC, will also occur here and maybe kill Rick as well. However, that also is not going to be a path that we're going to be taking today, as that will be quite a short video. But instead we're going to be taking path 3, where Rick ends up leaving the CDC like usual, as he explodes the glass windows and escapes with the grenade, as he still has that grenade for safekeeping. So with Rick leaving like normal, he continues his search. However, he is also able to stay in contact with Morgan that we have found in Season 1, as he isn't occupied by the family or the group the whole time, and he's not in conflict with walkers or another group. So he's able to stay in contact with Morgan through the radio instead. And so Rick is able to meet up with Morgan once again. However, this time Morgan's son Dwayne does not end up actually dying, as they do not come into much conflict while away from Rick. They just have a little time away practicing their shooting skills, their firearm safety, all of that. And so all 3 of them meet up and go on a big long, journey, trip, big fun time together. Now of course, Rick, believing that Laurie and Carl's family would stay around that sort of area nearby Atlanta, where he is currently in, he wouldn't travel that far away from Atlanta, and so he'd stay sort of in that vicinity until the 3 of them come into contact with the people, the survivors from the Grady Memorial Hospital. The same hospital, in fact, that we see Beth being taken to later on in the series. However, this community is built on the hope that they will be rescued eventually, that there's some sort of government still working on a cure. And so they're just in a whole land of make-believe, and Rick knows that it is most likely impossible that they are going to be able to be safe there and create a cure. And so he rebels against the people from Grady Memorial Hospital and does not accept this to be a safe place, and still is determined to find his family. However, Morgan, on the other hand, is more concentrated on the safety of his son Dwayne, and so I feel that they'd stay with the people from the hospital, and Morgan and Dwayne would just stay together in the hospital with the safety and numbers of the people there. Rick is also just unable to settle in that sort of community, and also not able to become a leader of such a group without his family being there, as he's determined to find them instead of being in control of other people like he would be normally. So instead he grabs his weapons that he had previously from his bag and leaves through intimidation. Rick, of course, being the survivor and the determined father that he is, continues his search rather than settling in a sort of home or shelter for too long. Instead, he goes off, continues to find and search for his family. Rick's situation is similar to the one Dwight is seen in towards the end of Season 8 after the fall of Negan, whereby Dwight is forced to leave by Daryl, and instead of staying in some sort of community or shelter, he goes off all the way to Texas trying to search for his wife Sherry. So back to Rick, he continues his search for his family and ends up coming across this giant prison that we see in Season 3. And he ends up finding in the prison, guess who? His family and the group of survivors. Now that is the end of episode 1. If you guys are interested in this storyline that I have built, be sure to subscribe, like the video, so you don't miss out on part 2 of this series. Again, just so I'm clear, this is just for fun. Obviously, it is not objectively what would happen in this sort of situation. It is just what I could come up with, what I would imagine, what I'd envision would happen in this sort of situation. Now in part 2 we'll be going back to the start again, looking at what the group of survivors would do without Rick, and seeing their path on how they got to the point Rick is at as well. I'll also be having a continuation on this storyline in part 2, so be sure to prepare for that part to come soon. I would also love to hear anyone else's view on these sort of situations, so if you have any idea of what else might occur in this sort of scenario, be sure to leave a comment. I'll be very intrigued in your views as well. But other than that, I hope you guys are having a great day, hope you enjoyed this video, and I wish to see you all in the next one as well. Have a good one.